Hey sweet friends, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new here. Today I have a homemade restock for you. I'm going to be sharing some bread making, some canning, and sharing with you my homemade Nesquik recipe. So I hope you will enjoy today's video. If you do, please leave it a big thumbs up and let's go ahead and jump on in.
I will carry you on my shoulders as long as I'm able. Scare the monsters under your bed.
So we're going to switch up our bread a little bit today. Lately I've been making sourdough bread, but my family has been asking for Amish white bread, so I am going to go ahead and make that for them today as well. So to this bowl, I'm going to go ahead and add 2.5 cups of warm water, 2/3 cup of granulated sugar, and then 1 1/2 tablespoons of active dry yeast, or 2 packets if you have it in packets. And then let that ferment together in your bowl and get all happy and bubbly, and then you'll be able to add the rest of your ingredients. And while that is fermenting together, that would be a good time to go ahead and melt your 8 tablespoons of butter. You will need 8 tablespoons of butter for this recipe. So that would be a good time to go ahead and melt that butter, so that way whenever that's done you can go ahead and add it in and then start adding in your salt and flour. Now that my butter is melted, I'm going to go ahead and add that to the bowl. The container that my butter was in was a little bit warm, so I was struggling to get that in there, but I went ahead and got the butter in there. And then I'm going to add 2 cups at a time of my all-purpose flour. So you see me adding 2 here, and then I will add another 2 cups of flour, so that'll be 4 in there total. And then I'm going to put it on my stand mixer and let that mix together for a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and add another 2 cups, 2 to 3 cups, just depending on the consistency of it. You probably could easily make this in a bread machine, but I do not have one, so I just mix it all together with my stand mixer, and then I'll shape it into dough and put it in loaf pans and bake it that way.
I will do everything I can for you.
Once I have that all mixed, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 more cups of flour, and I will end up adding maybe about 1 more half cup, and so it'll make 6.5 cups total that I put in here, but that makes it the perfect consistency. And then once that's done mixing in the mixer, I'm going to lay it out on the counter to knead. I know there's so many different ways to knead, different dough, or, people just do it differently. Like, I usually don't do my Amish white bread the same way I do my sourdough. That's completely different, but I'm just going to go ahead and knead my bread and get this shaped into a ball, put it back into the bowl and let it rise for an hour, and then I can get it shaped into my bread loaf. And we're also going to be making hamburger buns with it as well. this point, it has risen for an hour, and I had shaped it into my hamburger buns and my loaf, and I'm going to let those do one more rise before I bake them. But while those are doing one more rise and before I bake them, I'm going to go ahead and get started on chopping a onion and some mushrooms, and we are going to be making and canning some homemade cream of mushroom soup. You could make this any cream of soup that you would like. I'm just doing cream of mushroom because I had mushrooms and onions, and so that's what I'm doing. But you could do celery, you could do broccoli, you could do potato, chicken, whatever kind of cream of you would like, you can use this recipe for. But right now I'm going to chop up one whole onion, and then I had a big bag of mushrooms, and so I'm going to chop up the whole entire bag of mushrooms. But you know, typically, like if you were doing celery, you would want 3 good stalks of celery. So you can see here roughly how much mushrooms and onions I have. And so now that those are chopped up, I can go ahead and take 3 quarts of chicken broth or chicken stock and put it in my big pot. I had these, me and my dad were actually canning this together today, so I have some butter melting in a pan so I can go ahead and saute the mushrooms and onions. And then I'm going to go ahead and dump the 3 quarts of chicken stock into my big stock pot. I did end up realizing that the pan that I was melting the butter in was a little bit too small, so I did have to switch that pan out actually for the amount of mushrooms and onions I had. So you can see here that I switched that out, but I'm just going to get those sauteed. Once those are sauteed, you're going to add your flour to it, and I did about 1.5, maybe 1 3/4 cup of flour, and I'm going to make that a roux, and that's what's actually going to thicken your cream of soup that you're going to make. So the only dairy that's actually going to be in this recipe is your butter, but you could use dairy-free butter for this if you choose. I personally pressure can mine, and I know that, you know, with some Rebel recipes you can water bath can this for 3 hours, but I like to pressure can mine. We go through it so fast, to be honest, and so I don't really worry about it, and we have had really good luck with this, and it's just been really good for our family. But because I did add quite a bit more flour in this recipe than I did the last time I made this, I did take a little bit of that warm chicken stock and added it to this so that way I could get that roux nice and thick. You do want it to be thick because you are adding this into 3 quarts of chicken stock, and so if you like a thicker cream of soup, you definitely want to make sure that your roux is pretty thick. And I did have a good amount of mushrooms and onions in here as well, but we like ours to be, you know, kind of chunkier and filling. And then I'm going to go ahead and add all of that to my stock pot and get it stirred and get it thickened and mixed all well and good together. And once it's all well combined and mixed and you can tell that it's thickening up, that's when you are safe to pour it in your jars and go ahead and get it into your pressure canner. And it will thicken after it's in the pressure canner and sitting on the shelf as well. Once it cools, it will totally thicken up just like normal cream of soup from the store. I seriously do not buy this from the store anymore. It's just something that I make now, like along with my tomato products, as long as I get enough tomatoes, you know, throughout the season to last me until the next season. You know, if I have to buy any filler, I will, but it's something I definitely prefer to make at home now versus buying from the store because the flavor is just 10 times better. But I'm going to go ahead, get all of this mixed together and let it get all thick and happy, and then we will go ahead and add it to our jars. And like I did mention, I had my dad helping me today. He loves to come over and can with me and make noodles and all of that stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and fill a few jars, and then I'm going to let him fill a few jars as well. For me, I do personally pressure can mine for 90 minutes. But that's just me. I know you can water bath them for 3 hours, but I'll leave the recipe down in the description box if you want to check it out for yourself. But just remember, if it's not something you're comfortable with canning, I understand. It's something that I am comfortable with. It's something my family loves, but definitely it's your kitchen. You do what feels best for you, but I thought that you guys would enjoy seeing this. But now that this is done, I can go ahead and pull my hamburger buns, and I can pull my bread out of the oven and let that cool down a little bit, and then we will be able to butter the tops of them and let them just soak that butter in and get ready to cut in them. I can't wait to show you what this bread looks like once you cut into it. It's so delicious, and these make the perfect quick hamburger buns. Okay, just look at how wonderful this bread looks. You can squeeze it on all sides and it just bounces back. It is so fluffy and just so delicious. I really do love my sourdough, but sometimes I like a good Amish white bread as well. It just throws me back to when I was younger and my parents made bread a lot, and just getting bread from the Amish, it just throws me back to that time. But we're gonna go ahead and make some homemade Nesquik now. So you're gonna need sugar, salt, and some cocoa powder. And so I will leave the recipe to this down in the description box as well. But I'm going to go ahead and add 1 1/3 cup of sugar, and then you're going to need just a pinch of salt. I just sprinkle in a little bit of salt, but then you're going to need 2/3 cup of cocoa powder. Mix that all really well together, and then you have a homemade natural or more natural homemade Nesquik powder, and it's really, really good. This is good in chocolate malts. This is good in chocolate milk. It makes a good chocolate syrup if you mix this with some water or a little bit of milk and heat it up on the stove. It is just so good drizzled over some ice cream, or like I mentioned, in a chocolate malt as like a smoothie. It is just so delicious. It is something we absolutely love here and we keep on hand all the time. The one thing I do want to mention about this though is if you are going to mix it into chocolate milk, I would add just a tad bit of water in your cup first, and then I would add your 1 tablespoon of this, mix that together, and then add in your milk, just so that way it makes more of like a syrup and it's a little bit easier to mix together. But honestly, this is so much cheaper. My kids love it so much more, and I enjoy making it for them. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. As always, sweet friends, if you're in need of any kind of prayer, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to say a prayer for you. But until I see you in the next one, I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye, y'all.